Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Financial Foreplay. I'm recording this episode in the month of July. And so, for those of you that are based in Australia and running a business, you will know that it's the beginning of a new taxation year. So, it's almost the perfect time for those of you who are thinking about, what will the new year bring? How are we going to achieve our goals and dreams for the new year? How do we actually go about doing that? So what I want to do is spend some time this month, and particularly throughout the episodes that I'm going to be recording for Financial Foreplay, to helping you set the future. Now, please know that this doesn't just apply to those of you that are business owners. All of us, regardless of whether we're employees, we could be, stay-at-home moms, or perhaps, some of you are even students. Everyone needs to get a handle on goal setting because it is actually imperative. It's biological. This is actually one of my most favorite areas to work on, and it's probably the area that you'd least expect to hear somebody, from a financial background wanting to talk to you about. But here's what I know. Goal setting is imperative for every aspect of your life. You should have personal goals. You should have goals for your health, goals for your spirituality and giving back to the community, goals for your relationships, all those kind of aspects of your life, because it's not just because someone who wrote a book said that you need to do it. The reason that we need to do it is because our brains are biologically hardwired to be goal-seeking mechanisms. And I want to explain some of this stuff in detail because for some of you, this may be the first time that you're hearing this. Now, there are tons of books out there. If you wanted to go do a quick Google search and you wanted to find all of the different personal development and business books that are out there, you're going to come across stuff, huge titles like Think and Grow Rich, or the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Maybe the E-Myth for those of you that are business owners, or Good to Great. How to Win Friends and Influence People is, such a fantastic book. Even 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. And all of these books, as wonderful as they are, and believe me, I've read all of them, some of them multiple times, because there are so many nuggets of gold in there. But guess what? They do not hold a candle to the book that I want to share with you today. And it's ironic because the book that I want to share with you today, I think, is in my top 2 or 3 books that were written in the last century. And I don't say that lightly. This book, while many of you may never have even heard of it, basically changed my life. And I think it's one of the most powerful books, and I recommend it highly to you as something that you want to put on your reading list for this year. And that book is actually called Psycho-Cybernetics. So why is that? What is psycho-cybernetics? I'm sure some of you have maybe never heard that term before. It's an unusual one. And why is it important in the context of goal setting? Well, here's the thing. Psycho-cybernetics was written back in the 60s. And so it was written, before there were gurus out there, experts like Tony Robbins and Robert Cialdini and all those familiar names that you will know because they're widely known globally. But here's the thing. Dr. Maxwell Maltz, who wrote the book Psycho-Cybernetics, was a plastic surgeon back in the 60s, right? And this is what I find so fascinating about this. He was specializing in physical deformities and disfigurements that were created due to either accident or birth. And he took the important insights that he gained out of his plastic surgery practice and he built upon it. And he literally created the foundation for what we now know to be things like neuroscience and psychology. All of these, personal development and sciences of the brain literally came out of the foundations that were created by this particular book. Now, Dr. Maltz was so fascinating because he was operating literally on thousands of patients back in the day. He was changing their physical appearance, but he made this really shocking and startling discovery, right? It essentially led him down the path to investigate why, when he helped all of these people to look better on the surface, often it did not change the perception that they had of themselves deep down on the inside, right? So Dr. Maltz essentially was a person who discovered that your brain is a cybernetic mechanism and that it acts as a servo mechanism. Whoa, some big words there that, are unfamiliar probably to a lot of you. I'm going to boil it down to plain language and tell you what this means. While many of us would like to think that we're logical, objective thinkers, right? And that what we do is so well thought out and very, very purposeful, guess what? The truth is, the most dominant areas of your brain, the parts that decide and act, they don't have the capacity to think, right? Thinking is actually done in entirely different areas and parts of your brain. So, what this means is that the parts of your brain that decide and act are automated mechanisms, right? They're hardwired. They are hardwired to react very, very quickly based on survival instincts and visual cues. And it's hardwired to do all of this without actually needing to think things through, right? In fact, thinking often takes place long after most decisions are already done and you've already taken action. So your brain is hardwired to kind of act like a GPS. And that GPS responds to different taps and feedback to kind of, keep you on track. It's a natural goal-seeking mechanism, and it uses obstacles and different forms of feedback to gently guide you on track. Your brain operates actually very, very similarly to things like GPS. So if you've, ever been on a professional or commercial aircraft that's flying from sort of A to B, the GPS mechanism is always working in the background to help the pilots get that plane from A to B in the, quickest and most efficient way possible. And it's reacting to the weather, whether it be storming outside, it could be, any number of things that could be guiding or directing that plane off course, but the GPS is there to bring it back on course. And guess what? Your brain is exactly like this. So please know that goal setting isn't kind of like a nice to have. It's not something that, you read a book and someone says you need to do it and you kind of go along with what that person says. Your brain is hardwired to get you everything it thinks is of value. And the only way to get it working for you is to program it at a deeply subconscious level to understand what in fact it is that you value. Because if you don't purposefully set the course with your brain, what's going to happen is you will get a lot of stuff that you don't want. And that is just because there is so much stimuli that's out there in the world. In your brain in particular, there's an area called your reticular activating system that operates at a deeply subconscious level that filters out a lot of crap and extra stimuli that you're being bombarded with every minute, and helps you to really focus in on what it thinks that is of value to you and your future. So that's why goal setting is so very, very important. And it's important for us in personal aspects of our life and also in business aspects. So what I want to do today is just quickly outline a couple of really powerful tips and strategies. And then I'm actually going to send you guys away with some homework, which I don't always do, but I think this is really important. So number one, first and foremost, it's really important to remember that, you want to define your goals purposely. You want to remember that your goals have to be consistent with your values. Number two, your goals should not contradict any of your other goals, right? So it doesn't make sense to set a goal in one aspect of your life and then set another goal in another aspect that there's no way in the world that you can achieve both of them. You want to have some level of continuity. So it's important to be mindful of that when you're, setting goals. Number two, you want to, if possible, define goals across multiple aspects of your life so that your brain is working for you in a holistic sense. You want to be thinking about your family and home life, maybe your financial and career goals, spiritual and ethical goals, whatever that means to you, regardless of whether you're religious or you believe in the universe, it doesn't matter. It's about, your contribution and what you are here to do to give back. Your physical and your health is so important. Some social and cultural goals. How do you fit into the scheme of things? How do you contribute to society and your community? And then also your mental and educational goals. Are you moving forward? What are you learning this year? How are you challenging yourself? So I want to, start from that backdrop, and I want to outline something that I created. And for those of you that have read my first book, On the Shoulders of Giants, you'll be really familiar with this. But I created my own goal setting methodology or strategy, and I want to explain to you what it means and how it works. And then I'm going to send you guys away to set some goals and also to report back and share those with me and with other people who are in your community. So I call my personal strategy my result. So it's each of the different elements are going to come from the letters in the words my result. So bear with me as I go through those. So let's start from the top. M stands for measurable result, right? The M in the word my is for measurable result. It's really important when you're setting goals, number one, to know how will you know when you get there, right? What does the end step actually look like? What are you going to be saying to yourself? What are you going to be doing? What are you going to be looking at? How are you going to be feeling? Invite all of your senses in. I want you to get really, really clear when you're setting your goals of what you will do in order to measure success, right? So if you're going to set a financial goal that says, hey, I've got, $45,000 of savings in my bank account, then you want to say something like, and I'm going to be logging into my online banking, or I'm going to be going to my bank, and I'm going to be looking at my bank statement for the month, and I'm going to see the $45,000 in there. So you're going to get really, really clear about how you're going to measure success and what it's going to look like. The second part of my is the letter Y, right? And Y stands for why, as a WHY, the word. For what purpose or intention do you want something? There is nothing more powerful in the world than connecting to your why. What I have found a lot of times people say, what am I going to do if I lose motivation? What am I going to do if I just don't feel like going for something? Guess what? When you are working to something, some kind of goal in your life, and your why is incredibly powerful, it connects with you at a deeply spiritual level, at your soul level, guess what? You will not lack motivation. Perhaps you want to have a financial goal of saving a certain amount of money, but your why for that is that you want to provide for your child's post-secondary education, or you want to have financial freedom so that you maybe don't have to work anymore, or pay off your home loan, or whatever it is. Here's the thing I know for sure. Those who have very, very deeply value connected or spiritually connected whys never lack motivation. So it's really important when you're setting these goals to figure out why it is you need to achieve them, because that will ensure that you will in fact actually bring it about. And it's just really important from a goal setting perspective. So the second word in my result is obviously result, and result starts with the letter R. Now, R is all about it being realistic and achievable, right? Now, please don't be afraid to set a longer term goal that is a bit of a stretch goal. But when you're setting your goals, it's really important to make sure that they're, achievable. So if you have a business and that business is brand new and you don't have any customers, and maybe you don't even actually have the foundations yet for your business, you don't want to go into that saying, hey, in 1 year I'm going to have $1 billion business, because that is probably unrealistic. There are very few examples. Even taking a look at people like Jeff Bezos from Amazon, it took years for that company to develop into what is now a multi-billion dollar enterprise. So please remember to be realistic and achievable, but to stretch yourself a bit, right? The second part of it, E, is ecological. It's about, is it good for you? Is it good for others in the planet? This comes back to my earlier comment about, wanting to have goals that are congruent and that make sense and aren't, the opposite of something that you want in another aspect of your life. S is about specificity, right? It's really important that your goals are quite clear and concise and very specific, because your subconscious mind can only act and, decide. That's all it can do. It can't think. So your subconscious mind needs to be programmed towards what it is actually seeking. And to do that, you must be very specific. You don't want to sort of write a goal, whether it could be for your health or relationships, that is a very ambiguous or loosey-goosey. Your brain needs to know specifically what it is that you want. Now, the you in result is about you having it now. It does you no good to set goals and say, in 4 months' time, I would like to have X, because guess what? What's going to happen is there's not enough clarity around when the end date is for this magical goal. And what's going to happen is your brain is going to keep pushing out that 4 month date every single day and every single month because there's no end date in sight. So it's really important that when you write your goals, you write them in the present tense as if you have achieved them now, and you attach an end date to them and sign them. Now, the L in the word result is quite powerful. And this is a slight nuance is often missed by a lot of people when they are setting their goals. You must look towards your goals, not run away from what you don't want. And this is, really, really obvious, particularly when I see people setting goals around their health, their weight, quitting smoking, having the relationship that they want. What I see people doing is writing down all the stuff they don't want. I don't want to have someone who, is emotionally abusive to me. I don't want to be fat. I don't want to be a smoker. That is never going to work. And in fact, the way that your brain is hardwired as an automated mechanism, what happens is it can't distinguish clearly between negatives. And so when you are running away from things, what you end up doing from a goal setting mechanism is actually attracting them into your life. So it's so important when you're writing your goal that you are looking towards that goal. So if you want to lose weight, if that's, the thing that you want to focus on this month, which is not a financial goal, but still important, then you want to achieve your desired weight of X kilograms or pounds. You want to fit into your favorite dress that you love to wear and, that sort of thing. What you don't want to do is write a goal that talks about what you don't want. The last part of result is the letter T. And T is about time bound. And I've kind of alluded to this already a little bit, but you must have a specific achievement date. That date has to be clear and that date has to be written down on paper. So you're writing your goal on a particular date, but you also want to make note of when you want to achieve your goal by, and you must also write that date down. Your brain needs to know right from the outside, right from the outset, when it is that you need to achieve these goals. So here's the thing. You can never get good at goal setting by talking about goal setting. And goal setting is imperative because if you want to have a better life, a more financially free future, you must set goals and you must take purposeful steps every single day towards that stuff. And the only way that you can do is to put it on the subconscious radar of your brain that's always working. It never stops, even when you're sleeping. Those parts of your brain are still working and looking to identify opportunities and different resources and putting those on your radar so that you can act upon them and take steps towards your goal and attract more of what you want. So I want to send you guys away today with a little bit of homework. I want you to start setting some goals. Let's start with a financial goal, right? Because at the end of the day, regardless of whether you're an employee, maybe you're a student or a stay-at-home mom, or you've got your own business. It does not matter. It's time to start setting some financial goals. And it's really important that when we set those goals, that we follow the My Result methodology, because it will give you the greatest chance of success. If you just sort of go out there and set goals without having an understanding of how your brain is working and how your brain is hardwired to bring you everything that you've ever dreamed of, everything that it thinks is of value to you, it's important to be purposeful about the stuff. If we're going to do goal setting, let's do it right. And let's do it in a way that gives our brains the greatest chance of helping us, assisting us, to bring those resources and perspectives and opportunities in to get to that result. I would love to have you guys share with me what goals you are setting, particularly in the financial aspects of your life. And then I would also love to hear on an ongoing basis how you're making progress towards those goals and exactly when you achieved them and what your success stories were. And it's okay if, you know, maybe it takes a couple of extra months or days or whatever it is to achieve those goals, because you are more likely to achieve them if your goals are set than if you just sort of let your brain wander aimlessly along for months and years towards nothing of specificity. So I'm really excited to go through this exercise with you. I'm going to be working on it with all of my clients as well, because it's just sort of that time of the year, and it's a wonderful time to double back and start thinking about, what do you want in your life? What do you want to attract more of? So I recommend that you guys all take some time to do this, and please do share with me, because I do love to hear your feedback, and I do love to know what you guys are working towards, and I also want to be there to celebrate your wins when you achieve them. So thanks so much, and I look forward to seeing you in the very next episode. Take care.